And that day, all of my hope disappeared. Whatever little glimmer of life left in me was gone. Not even the slightest little spark was left. I felt really dead and really alone. 10, 15, and then 20 years passed, and I never once raised my eyes towards heaven. There was just me and my wife, so I thought. We struggled against the world, and after 6 years of marriage, we finally adopted our first daughter. A few years later, we adopted our second daughter. I was a decent breadwinner. I learned to work hard. I worked a lot of hours, and we seemed to do okay. Every once in a while, I'd pass a church or turn through the wrong station on the TV, and I'd see the Eucharist or the church and remember about the times that used to be. And how I remember hating the very thought of God. Not because of what God did to me, but because of all of the things that God let me do to other people. A year or so later, I had an accident at work, and I literally broke my back. I ruptured 2 discs. I was bedridden, reeling in pain and anguish. The world and all its demons had finally cast me aside. They no longer had any use for me, and I was of no further use to them. They had me all tied up, and I was finally broken. Broken not only in spirit, but in body, slated to go to hell, and I didn't even care. Death had to be better than all of this pain and humiliation. I remember thinking, Satan, glowing, "A job well done," he must have said. For here I was, cast aside, no use to anyone. How he must have gloated over his victory. And I remember that night particularly well. I cried, burying my face deep in my pillow so my wife and kids wouldn't hear me. I prayed one last final time, and I remember every word of that prayer. Jesus, have mercy on me. I can't stand the pain. I can't stand the guilt. If you really are all they say you are, have mercy on me. Let me die tonight. Let me take my place in hell. I earned it. I deserved it, and I won't even bother trying to talk you out of it. I give up. I quit. Do with me whatever you want. Just let me die. The next morning I woke up. The searing pain was gone, and suddenly I remember seeing a quick glimpse of a newscast on the TV. There was a voice rang out loud and clear and said Pope John Paul II was visiting America. And Pope John Paul appeared on the TV screen. He looked straight into the camera as if his face was beaming directly at me. And then I heard these most powerful words that seemed to light up my soul. Come back to me. Pick up your cross. Come, follow me. But wait a minute. For me, it wasn't Pope John Paul that I saw on the TV. What I saw was the face and the voice of Jesus, pleading, beckoning, so loving, so gentle, so strong, and then it was gone. Now, wouldn't it be beautiful if the story ended? A wonderful salvation, the gift of mercy, a glorious ending, and everybody lived happily ever after. But in this world, that usually isn't the case. My soul, feeling better, healed almost completely in my back, at rest and beginning to feel peace. But then I began to write it off as just a nice dream. Maybe it really wasn't the face of Jesus. Maybe it was just something I concocted as I woke up early in the morning. And I remember feeling that God couldn't want me because I wasn't worth anything. I remember thinking, it's just a whole bunch of hooey. But you know, I did feel a lot better. Nah, it was just a dream. Nothing more than a dream. 6, 8, 9 months passed. Easter began approaching. And again, my back went out. Similar problem. And I remember as I lay in bed, switching on an Easter movie. And I remember through my whole life, I had always been moved by the movies that play at Easter time. I remember the stories of the Old Testament and stories of the New Testament, and how all of the time I enjoyed them, but for me, they were just simply good movies. The movie that was playing was the day that Christ died, and it was a good movie. It was interesting, had good actors and a wonderful story. But for me, it was just that, simply a story. And suddenly, I remember, came the climax of the movie. I remember seeing Jesus, beaten and scourged, spit on, bloody and weak. I remember seeing him carry his cross. He was stumbling and falling. Once, twice, 3 times he fell. And I remember hearing the heavy thumps of his cross as it hit the cobblestone steps. But mostly I remember his eyes. I remember looking deep into the eyes, and it seemed as if he looked up from the screen, and they were piercing, deep blue eyes that seemed to look right through me into my soul. They were penetrating like lasers. They were bright and burning blue eyes. And then a shadow appeared on the screen. I could see a hammer rising, held high, and falling with a loud thunk. I remember hearing it again and again, and it fell, driving nails deeper and deeper into flesh. I remember hearing the sound of cracking bones, finally driving nails deeper and deeper through flesh and bone and finally into wood. Over and over again it rang. And my own wrists and ankles began at first to tingle and then to hurt. And then tears were flowing from my eyes as I saw the cross raised high. And I could see Jesus hanging there, shattered, whipped, and torn. And quietly, ever so quietly, a gentle voice silently whispered deep in my heart, "I will go through all of this suffering. I will die for you. Come back to me. My Father has asked for it, and I will do it." That day, my life changed. No longer was I concerned with my own troubles. No longer was I filled with all of the pain and the anguish, with all of the emotional hurt. Because now, deep in my heart, I knew that this one called Jesus died for me. I had no doubt. I had no thoughts or worries or cares other than the simple fact that Jesus loved me so much that he would die for me. Remember that everything God promises is true. I remember the words that the Blessed Mary said once when she visited 6 little children in Medjugorje. Her first words to them were very simply, "I came to tell you that God is real." And quietly, ever so quietly, a gentle voice silently whispered deep in my heart, "I will go through all of this suffering. I will die for you. Come back to me. My Father has asked for it, and I will do it."
I said, Jesus.